Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't.
Well, welcome once again to the BBS radio show, Spiritual Activist and myself, Rahasia Uncensored. Today we're going to be interviewing Terry Cole Whitaker. Now, in her day down in San Diego, she had quite a congregation, and now she lives in a quiet little place up here in Mount Shasta, and she's also a writer for our column in the Lotus Guide magazine. And every time I see Terry Cole Whitaker, she always amazes me with some kind of a thought that I have never had before. And I'm sure she'll amaze you too. This is what happens when you talk to somebody with a lot of life experience and willing to put it out there. So let's take a listen. So I think we're off and running.
Yes, we are.
Today we're going to be interviewing Terry Cole Whitaker. And you know what first attracted me to you is that the name of one of your books is What You Think of Me is None
of my business.
None of my business, you know. And I think if people...
Lo que pienses de mí no es asunto mío. That's the name of the Spanish, the one that's in Spanish.
You took the palabras right out of my book. Okay, so what do you want to talk about today? I mean, there's so many directions we could take this, you know, all the way from interdimensional beings to what's happening on the planet. What's in your mind today, in your heart, to speak of? Anything in particular?
Always, how is it going to empower and enrich others and bring forth who they really are? And I would say, take your power back.
Yeah.
And how what that is. And that isn't being hateful or angry or forceful in that sense, but it's to really know who we are. And to me, I think that was the whole process. I know when I got involved in everything is because I was suffering so much. And I thought, what am I going to do to help that? Because I was giving my power away to everybody. And being an empath is someone who can't stand strong in themselves. And they're easily affected by everybody and everything that's coming their way. So they're knocked off center all the time. So kind of like, how do we, like the cat's a good example. Cats know their boundaries. And I never used to know my boundaries, and I didn't know I could even have boundaries. And so that whole sense of you can be gentle and strong at the same time, you know, it's all the ways that we've been depowered. In fact, one of the good books is that Ingo Swann, The Secrets of Power. And the thing he says, you have to know how you're depowered.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I just listened to a book he wrote about what's the process he uses to see into the future?
Oh, remote viewing.
Remote viewing, you know, it was pretty interesting. But it's funny what you say about taking back your power, because one of the things I've run into whenever I get involved in society, social circles and everything, is when I was doing counseling for kids, they hated the first step of giving your power away to a God.
Oh, I got you, yes.
And so when Dara and I wrote a book, The 12 Spiritual Laws of Recovery,
great.
Our first law is what you resist persists. And this isn't for everybody, but I've noticed the people that can use their addiction or whatever they're going through in life and embrace it and use it as a tool to blossom and grow.
I used to be a drunk, not a big heavy duty one, but I was drinking a bottle of wine every day. It was my reward. But also, the alcohol, because, I got married at 18 and my husband drank, he was older. Then you start drinking and fights start and it's a poison. And I was using it as I realized to get over it, I had to stop judging myself and hating myself and feeling guilty that I was drinking, and to realize I was using it as a medicine at the time, but it was also a poison, and it wasn't solving the problem. And so when I got my power back, it was to realize I could be happy and have a good time without alcohol. And how I got over it was I asked the divine within me to take the taste away. And then I didn't want it anymore because I noticed how my body stunk and how my body felt at night and how I would say things to people and there would be fighting in relationships and all of this kind of stuff from this alcohol, which it does. And I didn't go to AA at the time, but I studied religious science, and he was a friend of Bill's, so the 12-step book and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I then surrendered to the divine, and the times after that I would drink, instead of hating myself and saying I was bad, I said I needed that. I guess that's what I needed to do. One morning I woke up, the taste was gone. It has never come back. I have no interest in it. A couple of times I had a little sip of wine, but I said, I don't like it, I don't want it, and I don't need it. And it was wonderful, but not to that. It was the guilt that would make me then drink. And then you feel guilty for drinking or guilty for what you're doing, and then keep losing your power and then hating yourself because you're so weak and you can't do it. And to get over that, I had to stop creating guilt.
And then you start feeling guilty for feeling guilty, and it just compiles on top of that.
Yeah, and even guilty for feeling happy if other people are miserable. It's not my problem.
It's not your business either.
No, none of my business what you think of me. And that title is so big. It's like even the art school. I'm not playing with your toes.
Okay.
But anyway, but in that article that you have out on the new magazine about how words create your reality, and it was always, remember the power of positive thinking, but I'm not really into positive and negative realizing, because every positive brings up a negative. But basically it was a basic thing of how thoughts are, and how we are controlled by those thoughts, and how to actually take our power back from the words, take our power back from all the people out there in so-called leadership positions, or we give it over there, we give people the permission to control us when we're really divine beings with all godlike powers, abilities, and qualities. And that's really our job, is to be who we are. But yes, again, how the words are so powerful.
We've sort of lost that knowledge, because that information used to be in ancient traditions.
Yes,
like
it's in the Vedas.
The Vedas, the Hebrews, or some words in Hebrew you can't even, you're not even supposed to say.
Right.
Some words hold power.
Right.
And like in the Hebrew language, all of their letters, which is sort of interesting. If you get a dodecahedron, drop a string down in the middle of it, and put a light on there.
Wow.
According to what angle you shine the light on the string against the backdrop of the dodecahedron, you can make all of the Hebrew letters.
Oh, interesting.
How did they know this so many years ago?
Well, because they invented the whole language and everything. That's
that
how you know.
Be,
and then just remember the runes. I remember the guy who developed the American runes. I forgot what his name was. Nice guy, but anyway, they actually used those to ruin people. They would, because the designs on them, and they would put them out against certain individuals to ruin their lives. It's like to me, like this is a virtual reality, in a sense, of projection, that our natural light and our attitude, our vibration, our consciousness, our intention, then and every word has a definition and a meaning that we've been given by others, that are basically causing us to have emotional reactions on a continual basis, where our body is really like is a manifesting machine, in a sense, because how our this is a sound reality, and how our words are sounds, and those sounds then have meanings, and then our emotions have vibrations and frequency, and everything that we see here has a vibration, has a shape and a color, everything in this world. So it was like
just imagine this, using that as a template. The fact that this probably is some kind of a simulation of some kind,
an overlay of some kind.
So the power of words, you can translate that back to your computer. You put in the word copy, and it does it.
Yes.
You put in the word delete, and it does it.
It does it.
Unthinkingly, unknowingly, because it's part of the program. So I think what you're saying is words are part of this program.
They make the program. They make the program because of sounds. And when a real in our what I like a lot about the Vedas too, in the Puranas, the part that I like, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all that kind of stuff, it's actually saying how the mind is the problem. And Buddhism is telling you how the mind is the problem. And it's either, there's something supposedly Jesus said, or Yeshua, was, who by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his nature. You can't think yourself better than who you are. Because who we are isn't thought. We are the thinker, so we're not the thoughts.
So here we go.
Yes.
Here's the paradox, the predicament. If the mind is the problem, and we constantly try to figure out the mind with the mind, isn't that sort of like trying to pick us up by our own bootstraps?
Well, because we were taught to use language and words, and we have to use them. We need and there is and some of my understanding of when the Vedas were written down was when maybe 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, when people were losing their memories because they were becoming degraded by the changes of everything and the beliefs and all this sort of thing. So they wrote down these in Sanskrit, which is the language of the spiritual world, and Hebrew is the language of magic, and English is designed as spell casting. So it's designed by John Dee and Francis Bacon for basically Queen Elizabeth, but changing it to making sure all these words do this sort of thing. So yes, we have to use words to get beyond words, and how you do that is you use it as a clue that you apply and get the result. So like if I'm reading, say, something on an idea or concept or like that, all is well. Okay, those are words, but what does that mean? Okay, that means that for me to get that, I have to know the divine, that there is no power working against me or anyone. There's only one power source. There is no power opposite. Like the what you call them, the Magi's, they were magicians, but the I forgot I'll remember. But an old religion brought forth the idea that God was both good and evil. That's not true. And so they brought the concept out. So when we read something or we're talking, and if I say all is well, then I stop and I don't continue reading. Then I go, what would that feel like if all was well? Okay, so I'll breathe into that and I'll feel, oh, and that worm of the anxiety in the stomach, the idea is relax it. Okay, and then what happens is words generate fear. And so you have to look at, when does the fear come and when does the problem come? Is when a word appears that projects into the future, and it's a fear of future pain, loss, and failure, death, and struggle and pain. Or it plugs the mind, plugs into the past, that's going to bring up memories of what you want to change, or you're looking back there to justify something, or how bad nobody loves you, and you've got then you got your story, and you got all the stuff, but the person then is basically becoming their own judge, jury, executioner, all of this from these words. And the key is to take getting our power back, you have to notice what words do, where they come from, how this reality is created, and then because we are given words and we were use these, we have to then disassemble and take apart all those, let's say the basic program, like of all the hundreds and hundreds of people I've counseled and worked with, and thousands of people, they all has basic same program, and it's you're not good enough. And there's not enough money, there's not enough love, there's not enough time. Better hurry, your time's running out. I'm an eternal being, there is no time. It's always right now.
And this brings in another point too, with going into the future and the past.
Yeah.
Because that's the only place where your personality ego can survive.
Exactly.
And if you try to constantly bring it back to this present moment, which it doesn't like through meditation or dance or sound or anything, that's when the struggle and the conflict comes in, and all the reasons why this won't work and why.
And who says it?
The mind.
The mind, exactly. And that's where the Battle of Armageddon goes on. And it's going on in everybody's mind. And then when you get the collective mind, which has been created through the programming of the educational system, the government system, medical system, science system, by the same individuals for the same purpose, to make us think we're powerless on some spinning thing going zillions of miles this way and that way. You're nobody, you're nothing, you're just a little meat stick that's going to work at fast food restaurants if you're lucky when you get big.
If you're lucky. And you have to pay for the education
Oh,
on
of
top
course!
of it.
And you have to take out a loan.
Yeah.
When all you need to do is no different than having a lemonade stand.
Oh, yeah. I can honestly say everything. I only went to like 2.5 years of college.
Good for
But
you.
I completely don't remember hardly anything from high school.
No.
And
Como
the
está
only-
usted?
The only thing I remember from college was I had one professor that was a really good professor. He says, my job is to teach you how to get enthused about learning, but you're not going to learn it here. You know, you're going to learn it out there. He says, learn to ask a question. And this is one of the problems I've noticed with young kids. They don't ask questions anymore. They Google it. You know, and
They gave their power to a machine.
well, if you don't learn that little magical kind of feeling that you get from asking a question, even to yourself, and figuring it out, and the moment you get the answer, you go, that aha moment that you've actually accomplished this little engagement with life and mystery. But we're losing that with the Google and the searching.
What's on purpose?
Yeah.
Because it's hive mind. That's like, you know, I'm not eating honey anymore because it's bee vomit. And what is that hive mentality? They feed the worker bees and the queen. Oh, really? So I'm going to ingest that?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. That is hive mentality. And it's sweet. And when you look up how ants operate and bees operate, they operate with the queen. And the queen, everything is for the queen. And everybody's dispensable. And everybody does a job for that. And then when she mates, she then, the strongest guy that comes, then she kills and eats him. So thanks a lot.
Right.
And this is hive mentality. And they got a good example in China. This is it. And it's like, so you start to look where we're always going to think alike, be alike, go alike, because we don't want any surprises. So who's doing this? Control freaks are trying to control everybody, and how they control them is through PR, through media, with all words and sounds and images and visuals and desires and all of these things that are all stemming from movies, what they were taught. You know, we all thought that love was this romantic thing all the time, so nobody really got that love is caring for someone. Love is endeavoring for them to be all they can be by just acknowledging that there's a being there, someone who's a wonderful soul. And wouldn't it be wonderful to watch them come into their own?
Yeah, watch them blossom.
Yeah, like you do with Daria. Daria, she's just like, you know, this gem, and you two have been together for 19, 20 years. Or yes, all the time.
We have this agreement with each other, and it's never been put to the test because I don't think it ever will be. But our reason for being together is to help the other one spiritually grow consciously.
Yes.
And if that ever stops, then we're having a problem.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. That was the key.
I hear it.
But she might want to be out of the bedroom. And if there's any assistant here that wants to open up the door.
Do we have an assistant here?
This is the bedroom. Oh, good. Thanks. See, look, it's magic.
It's just.
It's just how you ask and you shall
manifest.
receive. Woo-hoo!
So tell me something.
What?
Something I wondered for quite a while.
What?
I mean, you've had periods in your life where you've literally congregated a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what was there a transitional moment that? Because right now I'm looking around a lot of space, a lot of land, and you have some really good contacts here, but you don't have that need or something.
Well, I did it.
Like lots of people, you know.
I did. I bought the whole. Well, what it was one of the things as a young woman, I always knew I was going to be famous for some reason, and what happened was, as I started, because, and in fact, I always thank my first husband, my daughter's dad. I don't thank him. He does know. I think my daughter told him, but he wouldn't maybe understand. But I didn't know what misery was until I got married, because I had a beautiful childhood. I had, a beautiful life. And what happened was, the only place I knew, because I was miserable, to go to was to church. And I went to a metaphysical church because I could relate to that. My great grandmother was a metaphysician, and she was my spiritual partner. She's my granddaughter now. So it's like I had, hi sweetie pie. Yeah, I know. Oh, and the assistant could open that door over there on the yeah, that's great. Oh, yeah, and it's call her, and her name's Lakshmi. She's the goddess of fortune. Anybody has a cat, they understand, Okay, come on, Lakshmi. Oh, good. Okay, good. She's coming.
Yep.
She's got her way. She wants out. The other night, every once in a while, she put a mouse in the bed because she has her side, and it's like, don't do that.
So,
back.
Let me get some of your thoughts on. I think AI would be an interesting subject.
Yes.
To sort of get into a little bit, because
yes.
AI is permeating our society in very, very
insidious ways.
Yeah, and we don't even notice it. I mean, the robocalls, things like that.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, Alexis was a Google thing that people were paying to put in their house. What really came up with Alexis is, during the process of putting that out, everybody assumed that they were programming in the information, but they weren't. It was an algorithm. And one of the proofs of that is when the first Alexis came out, you could ask it, what are chemtrails? And it would say, it's a nefarious spraying of biological and chemical compounds on unsuspecting public, and it was what chemtrails are. Well, Google didn't program that into it. The algorithm of the computer system reached out and put that together for Alexis. Now they've changed it. If you ask it, now it gives you the definition of contrails, But it's taking over our life.
It already has. It's the mind. The mind is artificial intelligence, and the spraying out is the matrix already, because it's a program, and that's done with the words. People already the mind is artificial. Knowing, in my work, we are all knowing, everywhere present, and all powerful, because we are part of that divine presence. And when I say to people, who do you trust, your mind or yourself? Well, people think they are the mind, and they think they are the self. And every convenience, like you said, the Alexis, what happens is conveniences are destroying humanity, because it's just like my yoga, as my body is about 80, but I'm not, because I'm an eternal being, so I don't act the age, because I'm not an age, and I'm not a time, and I'm not, that I know who I am. And so when we, this AI, it's all done by words, and it uses words. Alexis uses words. They use typing. They use letters. Letters mean letters. You know the word numbers is numbers, Numbers. It numbs people. So when we start understanding the words, the logarithms, you might call it already, it's already computerized. And it's almost like there's a bone at the back of the head where major quantum computers that are actually under some mountains that are being used by the control structure that is beyond the people that we know their names as much, because they're the minions who get to walk around with the jewels and the crown and the celebrities and all that, because they have no soul. They've sold their soul for the stuff, but they can't get no satisfaction, as what's his name would say, Mick, who's really a positive thinker. He thinks he's cute, but anyway.
I think he's dreaming.
He's dreaming? Yeah, but he struts around like he is, so I guess he is, because he thinks he is. I always say, do you know why the queen is the queen? She thinks she is.
Yep.
And then gets everybody else to think she is.
Everybody else.
And to think, and it's all about thinking, and it's all about the words, and the artificial means people are trusting the mind rather than themselves. And we are the divine beings who are all knowing, all powerful, and we have been caught in, you might say, a trap where my memories of the first time I entered into this reality is I just wanted to have the experience. And then you get addicted to the experience, and then you're programmed with that this is all that there is, and then you want to come back, and then because you want another taste, or you want, in fact, Robert Monroe, in his book Far Journeys, that I liked a lot, and I did his 7-day training when he was still in body back in Virginia, and when his work was studying the astral plane, because he would just come out of his body. He noticed this happen sometimes spontaneously. He wanted to know what was going on, and so he would document his travels through the astral plane and the different levels and where people were and what they were doing, and so people get addicted to the food, get addicted to sex, get addicted to 5 sense gratification. And then if you look at everything that's being taught in all of the books and everything, this is all artificial intelligence. And every time is when people take a convenience, like the very first, convenience, well, we'll make it easy for you. I remember in the 50s, we'll give you TV dinners, of course, on aluminum plates, and the worst tasting stuff, and margarine, it tastes like real butter, was this white guck in a bag with some yellow food coloring, and you smush it all up so it looks like butter, and they try to say, oh, it's better than butter because of, that's a lie. And it's almost like the emperor is naked, but everybody says, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? And it prevents heart. It's all a lie.
Yeah, it seems like
That's
they used to have a
artificial
commercial. I used to
intelligence.
think it should be. I can't believe people believe this is butter.
Yeah, I know. I remember that lady. She was remember she was Mother Nature? She was one of, she used to come to my church. I used to have everybody. I had Earth, Wind, and Fire, I had all these people. It was great. But you said, it get big out there. All these people, it was really great. And it was fun, and I attained, you said about it being in the public, I attained everything because I'm a natural, I could be with all these people. But when it was over, I realized I'm not really happy. I've still got some of the same, a lot of the same issues with my relationship, my confusion, trying to, and I had all the trappings in the world, but I knew something was missing from me. And I said, then I always said, if I find something better, I'm leaving. And then this one Sunday, the voice from the sky and I think I was chipped because it's to head something. I have a lot of these experiences. Said, you're not doing this anymore. And I knew it was true, and it would say 2 weeks from today is my last day. And then it was like having to, what would you say, go off alcohol, off an addiction of being out there in the public and having all that attention and having all these things. But I knew I had to go through that was to deprogram myself, to actually really do whatever it took to really get to the heart of the matter, because you got to do it when you're in body. And I remember being born and how pissed I was that I was here again. And I was screaming and yelling. My dad said, you were just screaming and yelling. I said, yeah. What? Oh, no. And when I was born, I remember my mom was envious and my dad was jealous. I knew what was going on.
Seems like a lot of people on a spiritual path, if they're being true to themselves, not everybody, but a lot of people, comes to that point.
Yes.
I know I did. I
Yes.
came to a point in my life where I had plenty of money, plenty of cars and
Yeah.
boats and everything.
All the girls.
And all the girls, which didn't go over good with my first wife.
Oh,
but
well, that's the way it goes.
but there came a point where I actually gave all my furniture away, the
I
cars
gave
away,
everything.
everything away.
If it was stolen,
and
given it or
I
stolen.
had everything down to this little burgundy bag, and I walked off. And my wife and 2 kids went to stay with her mother while I went on my walk. She says, I can't take this no
And
more.
you sent 72 Econo van.
Actually, I was going down the beach. Actually, it was in, not Carlsbad, but Leucadia.
Okay.
They used to, right on La Costa and Highway 1, there was a place called Hippie Hill.
Okay.
And so I took my burgundy bag. I was walking to the ocean. I was going to spend the night laying on the beach because I gave away everything. Everything. And I was walking down Highway 1, and I seen up on Hippie Hill, there was a 1947 flexible old Greyhound bus that had been converted that I got in some kind of crazy deal and I'd forgotten all about it, you know?
And it was there?
It was still there and the guy was living in it, so I knocked on the door.
It was your van?
Yeah, it was mine. He says, "Oh, this is yours," you know? So I
that
ended
was
up,
nice. He wouldn't fight you for it.
no. I ended up fixing it up, getting it running, and then my wife and kid came back.
Oh, no, you're in the van.
Yeah, we drove it up. We become bus
Don't you love
people.
those little houses too? Like you get to a little house. You don't need much space.
But
Yeah.
that was the beginning of another adventure that I
Yeah.
couldn't have had by hanging on
No, you
to
can't.
everything.
You can't.
An anchor is great if you're at the harbor, but if you're trying to swim, it doesn't really work out as good.
And I didn't like being a celebrity too, because everywhere you go, people were watching. I couldn't go to the gym. I go into the bathroom, people were looking at me, talking to me, and my butt would be in the air doing a yoga pose, and somebody would look at, "Oh, hi, Reverend Terry, what are you doing?" It's like, and then I'd come to the front door in the morning, and not going to be a television camera staring. I just got out of bed, and then all these people trying to make me wrong and find out what was wrong. And even people that I thought liked me, they'd say nasty letters to me, and besides all of the other stuff. And it was so exciting to me when I first started traveling to like Asia or Nepal or India or anything. I was just, nobody knew me.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it was great because I could affect a lot of people stuff. But my spiritual life was the most important, just like it was to you. And you have to, it's what are my values? What's really most important to me? And the mind gets in there and says, "Are you crazy? You're going to lose this." But the mind knows all about us because we don't need a subconscious and an unconscious. That's where all of this stuff is stored in this computer system that's already AI, and it's everybody's mind. And that's why they want everybody to learn English. And then they get rid of indigenous people because they're not accepting the banking system. They already are in harmony with nature and life itself. Yes.
But I see a lot of this
Yes.
coming out now.
Yes.
A lot of people waking up.
Yes.
I
Yes.
just
Yes. A lot.
found out the other day
We're on the upswing.
on
Evil is gone.
on
Get
Instagram.
it.
On Instagram,
Uh-huh.
all the kids are on Instagram
Oh,
with
okay.
selfies and all that.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
take pictures of what they had for lunch. And
Yeah, I know.
all kinds of crazy things. But
Well,
they had an app on there where the young girls could take their picture and use the app to take out any wrinkles or
Uh-huh.
add this and sort of airbrush the face if they had any blemishes.
Mhm. And then what?
And it was causing so much problems because the girls that were doing it would, after they do all that, they'd go look in the mirror and go, "Oh my God,
What have I done?
I don't even look near that nice," Then it would deflate them. And
Yeah.
then other girls that would see these girls' pictures, they'd go, "Oh my God, I'm not near as beautiful as these other." So they finally, parents
Yes.
stepped in and said, "You take the app off of there."
There,
So
you
now
take
they've taken that off. Things are coming out with Facebook and Google, and all these people are having
Well,
struggles
see,
now.
again, it's the convenience. Or they think, if I go on there, I'll go on Facebook, and then you tell her, years ago, gosh, somebody thought I should be on there maybe 10 years ago. And then I was on for a minute. I said, I'm not giving anybody information. Well, this is stupid. But they wouldn't take my thing off. Not that I ever use it, because I'm not going to do what they call social media or whatever that is. And I'm just, some people, they think they need it, but everything's a convenience. Well, you need it. If you can't have it, well, why don't people work locally? But then we get this global or this planetary thing, and everybody's reaching out there, and then people say, what will happen if they turn the energy off? Like what happened in right now in Northern California, where all the fires are going. Then the electric company, so it's a game, tells them, we're turning off all the electricity. They don't get any radio, no TV. They had no idea the fire was coming because they turn, and on purpose, you turn off all of this stuff, and people have all these conveniences that they trust and they live with and such, and believe, because we believe that other people cared for us. But they really did not. And
Yeah, most people's telephones don't work without electric.
exactly.
Even though it's on a separate line, if you have the old-fashioned phone.
I do have the dial-up.
Yeah, we have one too.
And I only use landlines, and I don't use any electronics
and
or
that's,
wireless.
and that's where they send out the information
Yes.
from PG&E
And they didn't even send
telling
it out.
Well,
And you couldn't get it.
You couldn't get it.
There's no
If
electricity.
they turn off the electric,
Yep.
most people don't get the
Yep, yep.
alarms, the warnings
Yep,
for
yep.
fires or
That's
anything.
right.
So I mean, it's like that system doesn't seem like it's all that brilliant.
No, and how come one house next to the one doesn't, and then the trees are fine again? Starting to look in the pictures and the stuff like that. So it's like, well, what's the game? What's going on here? And actually, in some of my research with some of the people that I kind of groove with and look at out there, and even when I do any readings I do on myself, and evil is over. And what happens is we're in the remnants of it, but we've got to now focus on the solutions, where we're going, what we're doing, where we want to be, and what we want to do and have, and not be taking all of those. See, what happens is when they started offering like TV, I remember before TV, we were all kids in the neighborhood. We knew all the neighborhood. The neighbors were my clients. I could, a little kid, I'd have a restaurant, or I'd be selling something, or everybody knew what everybody was doing, and you were a community, and you were there. As soon as TV, we just started going inside and mesmerized even by the test pattern. And it was, I think Freud was the one, when he saw that, said this is basically could be the end of civilization. Yeah. Because of the imaging that you do with that, and in that state where you're in that alpha state, watching this and being programmed and identifying with all of these, and then taking the words in and activating and believing that words are real when they're really just sounds that we've given definitions and meanings for that really have nothing to do with us. But we've been taught that, so we use it and we go with it. And then I remember, and in growing up, watching movies, I wanted to have a life like that, and I wanted to have that kind of romance. And you think all of those, then they made like alcohol was lovely to be drinking, smoking cigarettes. It's all, and we all wanted to fit in and belong. And
yeah, we were trying to get what is a social
to be
system.
Okay, to be good enough.
Yeah, there was a movie out called The Razor's Edge.
I remember
Tyrone
that.
Power. And that was all about society trying to find itself, and he was going off on excursions. There was a person, I can't recall his name, but in the 20s when radio started becoming popular, he was talking about not only the words and information that was being bombarded, but the frequencies.
That's frequencies.
He said, I can tell a difference. He says, in the years to come, we might not be able to tell this because we're going to be so immersed. He says, right now, at that transition part, he says, people are getting to the point to where they aren't going to be able to understand the very news that's being broadcast to them because the frequency is slowing down their minds. Now, he could tell this.
Well, when it's all frequencies or vibrations. Remember, we were talking about the Rife machine. Yeah. And one of my friends, Clarence, and he's a fabulous musician, and he was trained at Juilliard, and how I got to know him at a church where I would speak, City of the Angels in LA. He was the big-time musician, lovely person, and he had a lot of platinum records because he would produce like Ray Charles, Joan Baez, all these people. And when he was in Vietnam, they were using Agent Orange, and he then got this, I think it was pancreatic cancer. And so he got the Rife machine, and they and what it was with the machine, this Dr. Royal Rife, he knew the vibration of health of every organ of the body. He would test that. So say if he had the pancreatic cancer, so then you dial it to the healthy pancreas. And then he bought the $3,000 machine. So at night when he and his wife would be asleep, he would have the bedroom, he would have this Rife machine going on. And I just heard from him the other day, that was like 15 years ago. He done, besides just changing the food and that vibration, it eliminated, and when Rife did a lot of his work, like they were testing like on 100 people, every one of them had a disease. Every single one was healed. Every single solitary person didn't have it anymore.
No wonder he got in trouble.
Yeah, and you can still get the stuff. And I remember holding on to it in these little things, little crystal handles.
Yeah, we have a Rife machine that we use pretty frequently.
Cool.
And one of the things that makes Rife frequencies work, you can translate over into our larger world too, because it has the frequency of that healthy cell
Yes.
that it broadcasts through you.
Yes.
And how it works is because it drops out of phase with the bad cell frequency.
Okay.
And when it drops out of phase, it's sort of like, remember Ella Fitzgerald on that commercial where she goes, ah, and breaks the glass? You know, that's because her voice tuned into the silicon molecules and then dropped out of phase just enough and broke the bond.
Wow.
So and I think that's what's happening in our greater world.
Yes,
Our good frequency, our healthy frequency, is actually emanating and radiating out and showing these things up for what they are. It's taking the fact that the emperor has no clothes and not only letting everybody know, but now the emperor knows.
Now that we know that he's naked.
Remember how everything changed in The Wizard of Oz? When they were all going to see the wizard, the mean, mysterious wizard, and they were all scared of him. What happened when that little dog pulled back the curtain?
Do you know what dog spelled backwards is?
God.
Yeah, absolutely. Tricky, huh?
Yeah.
I knew his granddaughter, Bommy, we used to call her, Ralph Baum, and wrote that. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
And did you know that Judy Garland, I used to live in Culver City, and I would have, they had this beautiful Culver Hotel. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's kind of almost like an iron, they call it an iron kind of thing, like the point was over here. It was big, beautiful ceilings, hand-painted ceilings and everything. And it was owned by this Mr. Culver. And he was in real estate and such. And so I would have seminars there. But when they did The Wizard of Oz, all the midgets stayed there. And they were always feeling up, because they were men. Right. Little short men were feeling up Judy Garland. She had to fight these guys off.
Yeah,
oh boy, and they were swinging from the chandeliers. They'd have 3 guys in a bed, but not long-wise. They have it short-wise and everything. And then that hotel, Clark Gable won in a poker game in that Culver Hotel. And so it was fun. And then the hardware store there was where Laurel and Hardy would do a lot of their stuff. And then right there was from the Wizard, Gone with the Wind, because they made it that same year, 1939, when they, I think, split the atom, and that's when I appeared, 1939.
You came in with the split of the atom?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah! It's okay, I better show up now.
Yeah, these people are going to get in trouble.
Oh my gosh, I know. And Gone with the Wind, and there's Tara right there, the big building, you know, it was really kind of fun. And yeah, and then I let people go when they do the seminar. They could go sit in the he had a room there where he kept all of his money, because a lot of people, they just always pay with cash. Like I went to see, what was her name, Catherine Kuhlman, years ago. You know, she wouldn't let, and I was a minister then, but she wouldn't let any female ministers sit on her stage and everything. But just watch how she'd slide around. But she would go pay for her TV time. She'd just bring cash in a suitcase, and she just pay for her TV time to do that, and
some things never change.
I know.
It's still a crazy, crazy world. It's degenerated moralistically into this realm that
it's on purpose.
Yeah,
it's on purpose, and it's all a plan. And when I'm a researcher, I call myself a spiritual sleuth, because I'm looking for clues for myself, because if it's going to be, it's up to me. I mean, it's not about sitting and taking what other people tell me and do all this stuff, and finding out really who I am and what's possible for me, and be an eternal being. What's going to happen when you leave your body, and how do you get back into this? And then studying a lot of people say their near-death experience, or they're different this and all this, and then the Vedas and all that. It starts, the dots all start connecting, and you begin to lose doubt. And my teacher in India, Haridas Shastriji, who has left his body, but had written over 85 books and such of translations of Sanskrit ancient teachings, where people didn't have an axe to grind about money and things. And so you've got ancient wisdom that also, when the so-called Christians came over, went in to take over India, in a sense, then you had this Max Muller who went in there, and then he translated and made all these fictitious stories, like even that there was an Aryan invasion. It never happened, you see. So what happens is you've got these control freaks who work themselves up into leadership positions in everything to be able to control, like the royals, where you're in a feudal situation where you got the peasants. Don't you love what do you call it, Monty Python? Like in one of their things, you got all the peasants are in the dirt, you know, and they're in the dirty stuff, and someone says, the king's coming, where's the king? The guy says, the guy's in the clean clothes. That's the guy. And this other one, he's got this guy comes, he's supposed to be King Arthur. And you know how they have the fake horses, they go da-da-dum, da-da-dum, and they're just playing like they're the horse, and they ride up to the peasants that are on the ground working, and they say, stand up, I am your king. Well, who made you king? The lady in the lake told me I'm the king. Don't you know? What do you mean the lady in the lake? You're not my king. Yes, I am. The lady in the lake told me I'm the king. You know, and they were wonderful. Yeah, they did some great stuff.
Here, this is another point too. I ran in recently. That happens because comedy had a artistic license to go up to the boundary and step over it occasionally. You know?
Yes.
Once in a while too far, then they'd have to back up. But now I've been listening to stand-up comedians
talk. They can't
talk.
do it now.
Well, they said that they can't do their comedy show because people get up and walk out. They get offended. They're all so sensitive about everything from
they've lost it.
The LGBT thing on, you know, everything is so sensitive.
You know what the difference between men and women?
Go for it. What?
Men have testicles. Women menstruate. They have periods. They bleed, and men have testicles. So there you go.
Okay, that straightens it out.
It's real simple.
So here's another good one for you, Terry.
You turned red. Your face turned red, Rahasha.
That does take me back to when I first found that out, I have to admit.
Well, that's it. I mean, come on. You can do whatever you want. In fact, I was in the market one day, a couple of years ago, and the wine is there, and the guy, because I talk to everybody, you know, I don't know why, but I just do. But anyway, I think I'm in church all the time, and I'm the minister, gotta keep everybody going. I just did it what it is. So this guy had his package of cereal there, and I said, make sure you're not eating any Wheaties. Look what happened to Bruce Jenner. And they all then start laughing because you have to be politically correct. They cracked up. I said, he was eating Wheaties for 30 years. Look what happened to him.
Yeah.
Come on. You got to have a sense. You know who got away with a lot because he was Jewish was, remember the comedian that wrote The Producers and something for Hitler, bedtime. I was like, remember Mel Brooks.
Oh yeah.
See, Mel Brooks, he Blazing Saddles and all of his stuff, he could say it because he was Jewish, so he could do all of his Jewish stuff and do all the things. But you couldn't do it if you weren't, because if you don't get to do that. But he did that, and you think, look, what's the guy was such a great stand-up who told us so much, you know, Carl.
Yeah.
What's
Carl?
It? Yeah.
What was his name? Carlson?
No. Yeah. You know.
The guy did the stuff thing.
Yeah, he stole that from me.
He stole your stuff?
I did the stuff thing. Because when I was on stage one time, it's all about stuff. You got to have a car to hold your stuff. You got to have a house to have your stuff. You got to have a purse. You got to hold your stuff in it. You know, when you go there, where's your stuff? You got to leave your stuff to somebody else. You got to come back and get your stuff in your next bite. And so
if you have too much stuff, you have to rent a place to keep your stuff.
Yeah, you got to get a storage room. You got to place your stuff. You know, and then pretty soon he started doing this stuff. I said, "That's my stuff."
Yeah, he was a good one. I'll think of his name eventually.
One of my students was also what's his name? The black guy who did I thought about a little while ago. Killer, and he did Reverend Leroy, and he had African American body. He was really good. Really good. But But anyway, he was one of my, well, he liked Khalil Gibran, a lot of stuff, and but I'll think of what he was. But he was a really lovely person. So.
Yeah, doing comedy anymore is, it's so, I don't even laugh when
There's nothing funny.
You know, I know I'm out of the social setting that you're talking about, but it's, even the things I do know about, it's not even funny. And they have,
well, because they're not, they say, see, the First Amendment or the second, whatever it is, that we have the right of free speech. First of all, you look at the Declaration of Independence, it says, well, we're going to give you the right to life. Oh, really? I am life. What are you talking about? You're going to give me the right to life. Oh, really? I am life. Liberty. Liberty isn't freedom. It's a sailor's night on the town. So we'll give you a little liberty here and there, but you don't have freedom. No, I am. And then the pursuit of happiness. You can run after it all you want. Those are the most miserable people in the world. They're running after happiness. You can pursue happiness and be as miserable as you want because that's our Declaration of Independence.
They're pretty good at giving us a carrot. And if we get the carrot, they're pretty good at using the stick.
It's rotten, too. The carrot's rotten and tastes bad. And if you can't, I know.
So, we're coming up close to the hour
You're
right now.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I'm not kidding at all.
Oh, my gosh.
I think one thing I'd like to ask you, if you could just... I have so many spiritual friends that refuse to look at negativity, and God bless them because maybe they can't, but they go under the guidance that no, if I do that, it's going to become part of my life.
That's training that comes from the Course in Miracles, leading people to the Baha'i, which is the religion of the One World Order. I have documentation. It's a CIA project. This is what it does. It's telling you we're equal. We are not equal. We are the same and different. Equal has a whole different meaning. It'll mean there'll be no differences in anybody at any time, anywhere, and you will be like an ant, or you will be a worker bee in a beehive with the queen. And this is how you operate. So it's like what may I say? It's taking that power back. Again, by doing your own research, which most people never do, and they believe it, and they take it on, and they say, well, they would tell me this. And one of the reasons people don't really get this, and because they can't imagine how anyone would be that cruel and mean to do all of these things, because it's a different species, in a sense. And what that means is the mind virus is contagious. And I call what's happened to some people who have, whether they're real people, not people, or whatever may be, it's contagious that we rise and fall by our associations, what we read, who we're with, what we do, and all this. And so many people, part of that is that the teaching I said that comes out that of negative and positive. First of all, I don't use negative and positive because every positive has a negative and every negative has a positive. And so I could call, and I remember years ago trying to think positive to really make something happen if I think positive and nothing negative. No, if it's meant to be and I let go of my objections, whatever is going to come to me, or if it's not mine, it's not going to be there. I don't have to think positive or think negative. But what they're taught is if you look at it and see it, it's you. No, it is not. That's a lie. That's a partial truth. So they build things on little half-truths that says, well, yes, part of it's true. Yes, part of it we're equal in a sense. That means we're the same from the same fabric, but we're all individuals. And they want to stop individuality. And so, but we're also a collective. So it isn't one side or the other. It isn't positive or negative, because when people hold to one side as positive, there's another side that's going to hold to negative. And so you get Republican and Democrat, Whig and Tory. It's a duality reality where these two fight each other because it sets up duality where people are fighting the battle of Armageddon within their own mind, which is confusing because should I do it, shouldn't I do it, I like this, I don't like this, and I don't know who I am, chaos, and all of this stuff keeps people in this mindset that takes their energy, their life force, their creativity, and blocks all of their manifestations of the beauty and the wonder and the joy of miracles in every moment. that are our divine right because who we are as gods, not the big deal, but we are eternal creator gods with all divine powers, qualities, and such. And when people won't look at it, if there is a sinkhole on the road above, you want to look at, you're not negative to know there's a sinkhole. And people say, or if you have your lights on and you know it's coming up, you know there's another road that you're going to take, you're going to avoid it. And that is one of the big programs. They tell people, don't look at it, don't see what's going on. That's negative. They're attacking negative people, and we're positive. And that is how they control people through the mind. And everybody says, I'm a member of this group and there is no negativity and I'm not looking at it. When you're in your divine state, you can see everything. You need to know everything that's going on, but you don't stare, you don't give it power. You notice where the collective subconscious is operating and you choose who you are. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, thank you, Terry Cole Whitaker.
Thank you, Rahasya.
We're going to have to do this again.
And again.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make a habit of us all being together and having fun.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you. And I love you.